This tweet from Gage Skidmore from Florence, Kentucky. What is Mr. Massie and Mr. Adkins' opinion on auditing the Federal Reserve? Mr. Massie?
I think the Federal Reserve absolutely needs to be audited. How one person can decide to print $40 billion a month while Congress is arguing about where to cut $50 billion in a year escapes me. They've really exceeded any kind of constitutional authority that they should be given. And by devaluing, by destroying our currency, which is what ultimately will happen given the policies of the Federal Reserve, this will affect the middle and low income classes in our country more than it will any other class.
Mr. Adkins?
The Fed is a tool that's used by government to manipulate our economy so as to keep us from going into depression. Look back at the TARP bailout. As onerous as it was to do that, that was $1 trillion granted to Wall Street to keep the economy from slipping into the Great Depression. The Great Depression, too. We were looking square into the eyes of the Great Depression, too, in September through January of 2008, 2009. Without those tools, that's where we would be. It's counterproductive to remove a tool from our toolbox that will save this country from such a financial catastrophe.
Mr. Massie?
That tool is going to destroy our country. And it's interesting to hear my opponent promote Keynesian economics in this debate because, you know, the theory behind Keynesian economics is that it is the government's role to manipulate our currency, to provide for cheap credit, to print excess money. And I believe that it's fundamentally broken. It's flawed. That theory doesn't work. And the government shouldn't be setting the price of money.
Mr. Adkins, last word on this.
Well, I'll tell you a theory that doesn't work, the trickle-down theory that doesn't work. It's failed in the 80s. It's failed in the first decade of this century. Keynesian economics was tried and true for years. World War II, the greatest illustration of Keynesian economics ever. We spent 140% of our GDP to defeat the Axis, and from that experience came the greatest economic engine this globe has ever known.
You're watching and listening to Kentucky Tonight on KET with our candidates from the 4th Congressional District, Bill Adkins, the Democrat, and Thomas Massie, the Republican. And we thank them both for being here tonight.